WTVF, Nashville.
Good evening. This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. The 98th Congress convened today to face a severe New Year's hangover. Highest unemployment since the Great Depression, the very real prospect of running up another record-high federal budget deficit, and another knockdown, drag-out Social Security fight looming. Phil Jones looks at day one of the new running battle between President Reagan, the Democrats, and some of his own Republicans over the economy and how to fix it.
Who said Congress wasn't much fun anymore? Most every place one looked today, there was more thought about parties than the nation's priorities. The defeated were packing their belongings. The 103 new members were anxious to fill the vacated chairs.
It fits. It's certainly large enough.
Tip O'Neill couldn't have been happier as he swore in the new House with 26 more Democrats in his flock. In the Senate, where cameras are not allowed, Vice President Bush gave the formal oath to the newly elected members of the Senate, which will remain in Republican control. For Democrats who had taken a shellacking 2 years ago, there was a signal of a new era. Now they would be involved in setting the agenda.
H.R. number 1 this year will be ERA, the Equal Rights Amendment.
But to hear O'Neill tell it, the main concern is the economy and getting people back to work.
The federal government must not bide its time waiting for an economic recovery. Any recovery that fails to significantly reduce unemployment is unacceptable.
Even Republicans, knowing the battles ahead on economic policies, Social Security reform, and defense spending, had clearly lost their cockiness of 2 years ago.
We Republican members, in that spirit of compromise, extend to you, Mr. Speaker, this olive branch in the fervent hope it will be accepted, nurtured, and allowed to symbolize this new Congress.
And the newly elected conservative soulmates of Ronald Reagan were acknowledging tougher times ahead.
But it certainly will be the battles harder fought than in years past, and the president's victories will not be as certain or as fast in coming.
And the established thunder from the right was vague in predictions for the future.
And my message to conservatives is to hang in there and stand for what you believe and don't give up. The American people will set the agenda.
The economy is sure to dominate this new Congress. There is no mood here for further deep cuts in social spending, and the president is against further cuts in defense spending or raising taxes. But the view from here is that once the president submits his budget with a deficit nudging at $200 billion, he'll either change his mind or the Congress will change the priorities without him. Phil Jones, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
The stock market partied through most of last year's grim economic activity, but it was all hangover, no party today, as the Dow Jones Industrial Average recorded its worst opening day loss ever. Analysts blamed today's decline largely on profit-taking and concern about the growing federal budget deficit. Two government economic reports today brightened the new year. The Commerce Department said spending on new construction by builders jumped 3.5% in November. That's the biggest one-month gain in almost 2 years. And a Commerce Department report on factory orders was called, quote, a cause for optimism. Ray Brady explains why.
There's something new at this Brooklyn, New York factory. After 6 months in which orders for its container machinery did nothing but drop, it's beginning to show a reversal. Orders for its products are rising.
For the last 4 months of 82, there was nil, nothing. Now we finally see a little break in incoming orders within the last 6 weeks. And this is the first time in 6 months that I've seen any sign where people are seriously talking about buying machinery.
Government figures show that after falling by a sharp 4.1% in October, factory orders in November rose 0.7%. Good news, because if factory orders keep rising, plants will be producing more, and that means they'll start hiring workers again.
Nobody expects a boom to develop, but economists say that with housing starts and auto sales both up, today's figures could be another sign the economy is gradually starting to improve.
We're beginning to see early signs that a pickup in the economy is getting underway. There are still some areas that have to show further strength, and I think we'll see that in the months ahead. But the durable goods area has begun to turn around, and that's pretty promising.
At this Brooklyn plant, workers say they're already encouraged about the rise in orders.
The layoff stop, that's the main thing. When you see that layoff stop, you see orders come in, machinery on the floor. That's the main thing.
The experts stress that there are still a lot of problems in the economy, and some companies may be slow to rehire. But at the very least, they say, the signs are growing that a turnaround may be on the way. Ray Brady, CBS News, Brooklyn, New York.
Anyone gazing at the bright lights on Broadway today must have noticed the coming attractions, courtesy of the Internal Revenue Service. An advertisement for the IRS accentuating only the positive. File early to get an early refund. Of course, not everyone gets a refund, hence the old expression, there's a broken budget for every light on Broadway. Incidentally, the prime Times Square computer message was debated as a public service. I should say it was donated as a public service to the IRS. A bit of self-service in that also. The sign owners, you see, expect to see a tax write-off for their tax sign on. The telephone company rang in the new year today with a move that, as Jerry Bowen reports, will reach out and touch just about everyone.
A new corporate baby was born today. Baby Bell, American Bell Incorporated.
When I say three, let's yell happy birthday. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday! That's what it is. It's day one. Happy birthday!
And with Baby Bell, telephone service in America has changed forever. A change that means even E.T. would have to own a phone before he could phone home in the future. No longer can users depend on the old one-stop service. In Pasadena, California, for example, it will mean shopping for the best deal you can find on a phone, perhaps installing it yourself, and if it goes on the blink, taking it to the repair shop. The change is due to a major restructuring of AT&T, more Bell itself. Under a government order, AT&T was allowed to enter the lucrative computer service business by creating a fully separated subsidiary, American Bell. American Bell can sell regular telephone equipment, and through still another division will sell data processing services. It gets even more complicated 1 year from now as a result of a separate government action. AT&T will then divest itself of its 22 local phone companies, such as Pacific Telephone and Southern Bell, as part of an antitrust settlement. The birth of American Bell means that the local phone companies will phase out leasing telephones. American Bell and independent competitors will be selling the phones instead.
People are shopping around, they're very price conscious, and they want to get more for their money.
Some industry analysts say the competition will mean savings for consumers.
The consumer is bound to save money because up till now the consumer's been, in essence, forced by ignorance and some other things to acquire it from the phone company. Now, the consumer is forced to go outside and look on the outside and will save money in the process, absolutely.
But critics say consumers will end up paying more, especially next year when AT&T gives up its local companies but keeps its long-distance service. Long-distance revenues have subsidized local calls in the past, but the new local companies will not have that revenue.
We project on the order of a tripling of the basic rate. That's just the cost of having a telephone. With that tripling, a significant number of people will regrettably no longer be able to afford phone service.
In California, phone company spokesmen say existing customers will be least affected by today's change, new customers the most. Any customer with a question can simply call up. You too, E.T. Jerry Bowen, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Your business machines say a lot about the way you do business. Quick. Right. Canon's NP400F delivers 40 letter-sized copies in a minute. Consider it done. Responds with reduction, even enlargement. Keeps you organized with a document feeder and optional sorter. Attaboy. The Canon NP400F system copier. Technology that keeps you going. Call toll-free for information or contact your authorized Canon dealer.
Oh, let me out.
Not with that congested cough. You look drained.
I feel drained.
Take Formula 44D. You'll feel like your congested cough is being drained away.
Sure.
It's the only leading formula strong enough to relieve your cough and congestion.
It does have a strong cough suppressant.
And 2 decongestants. Well?
Thanks to Formula 44D.
Your day didn't go down the drain.
Vicks Formula 44D drains your congested cough so it won't drain you.
There were blue skies over flood-stricken areas of Louisiana and Mississippi today, but with damages estimated at $200 million in Louisiana alone, David Dick reports the future there remains clouded.
As the flood moves downstream, communities in Catahoula Parish, Louisiana, have begun to suffer. 175 families were evacuated today in this area of converging rivers. Some residents here have been told they won't be able to re-enter their homes for 2 months or more. In the Penny Acres subdivision in the southern part of Alexandria, the water is slowly receding, as much as 1 or 2 inches a day. But streets are still waterways, and residents are making the best of a frustrating and costly situation. North of Monroe, where a washout sealed off about 30 families for a week, the National Guard moved an emergency bridge in last night. Residents were relieved, and so was Sheriff Wandal Cootie.
It just gives us and them the opportunity to come in and get out. Give us a few more days of sunshine. We'll be relaxed around here.
The sun came out today. It made one of its rare appearances this week. It was a most welcome sight. Even though the water is receding generally, it has a long way to go before neighborhoods like this are back to normal again. In Monroe, city workers were continuing to man the pumps.
We're right now in a holding pattern. We're taking it down very gradually.
Is the crisis over?
We certainly hope so. We're waiting on the weather right now, and that sun helps us quite a bit.
Residents were also waiting for federal officials who arrived today to make an assessment for President Reagan. After that, federal dollars may start coming in. David Dick, CBS News, Monroe, Louisiana.
Hawaii's Kilauea volcano today erupted with fountains of molten lava spewing 200 feet in the air. A Volcanoes National Park scientist said the display was more violent than an eruption last September. After 10 hours, today's display stopped abruptly, but continuing earth tremors threatened another outbreak. This Hawaiian volcano was in a remote area and posed no danger to life or property.
What kind of people drink Sanka brand? People like Virginia Buckland, horse trainer.
Horses can sense if you're nervous. That's why I have to stay in control. So I really look forward to relaxing with a cup of Sanka brand decaffeinated coffee. A cup of Sanka, please.
As usual.
That's good. And it's 97% caffeine-free, so it's perfect for me anytime, anywhere.
Sanka brand, for people who love coffee but not caffeine.
Grandpa, he's taking the nuts we picked.
That's because they've got a natural goodness and good taste he just loves.
So he gets a treat for breakfast.
So do we.
Grape nuts.
Like all the grape nut cereals, its goodness starts with nature's wheat and barley. And these crunchy nuggets are baked up and toasted for a good nutty taste. No sugar added.
He wants more.
Me too. Grape nuts, raisin grape nuts flakes. Good taste. Compliments of nature.
Late last week, Brazil, with the world's largest foreign debt, said it was unable to pay some $4 billion in principal due this year. Today, Romania did the same. It told Western banks that it won't be able to repay more than $1 billion in principal this year, though it will continue to pay interest. Leaders of the 7 communist Warsaw Pact nations gathered in Prague, Czechoslovakia today for a belated summit meeting, their first in more than 2 years. For the new Soviet leader, Yuri Andropov, it's the first out-of-country trip since he succeeded Leonid Brezhnev last November. The summit had been scheduled for early last month, but Brezhnev's death forced a postponement. President Reagan today named an ultra-blue ribbon panel to decide what to do about the MX missile. President Reagan favors the dense pack basing method that Congress has rejected. But as Leslie Stahl tells us, Mr. Reagan now stands to lose not only that point, but maybe the MX missile as well.
This is the MX missile's 3rd commission so far. It has just 6 weeks to propose a new basing system, but it could conceivably recommend scrapping the MX altogether. Its chairman, former White House National Security Advisor Brent Scowcroft, a critic of the president's dense pack proposal, says the mandate is very broad.
The committee has no kind of restrictions on what it can or cannot do.
The commission concludes that the MX doesn't fit in properly to the overall strategic requirements of the country, that you could actually tell the president that.
I wouldn't want to rule anything out at this point.
Dense Pack, a closely spaced basing mode that theoretically enables retaliation after attack, was the latest proposal to be rejected. It joined a list of roughly 30 other basing schemes, including Secretary Weinberger's continuous airborne plan and Jimmy Carter's racetrack system. But Commission member Harold Brown, Defense Secretary under President Carter, says a compromise can be found.
I don't think anyone's going to come up with any brilliant new ideas. This group ought to be able to come up with some sensible conclusions, and if it can't, then not only the MX, but I think the whole U.S. strategic force is going to be questioned by a lot of people.
Defense experts in Congress say the commission has 4 options. 1, to scrap the MX in favor of a smaller missile that could be easier to hide. 2, upgrade the existing Minuteman missiles. 3, combine a land basing scheme with an airborne system. And 4, improve Dense Pack with additional deceptive shelters.
The new commission will cost roughly $2,000 a day, but as with the last commission, there's no guarantee President Reagan will accept its recommendation. Leslie Stahl, CBS News, the White House.
Lebanon's newest battleground is the port city of Tripoli. Rival Muslim militia, one backed by Palestinians, the other by Syria, are fighting for control. At least 47 people have been killed in 3 days of violence there. To the south, in a Beirut suburb, the third round of talks between Israel and Lebanon on troop withdrawals failed to produce even agreement on an agenda.
In the race to office automation, some will wait for tomorrow. But for those who choose Wang, today, it'll be business in the fast lane. Because Wang has the computer technology and worldwide resources to automate your entire office now. The choice is yours. Ignore the inevitable or race boldly into the future with Wang, the office automation computer company.
Here's what I looked like the year they started making Anacin. Never mind what year that was. But people like you have been reaching for Anacin year after year after year. That tells me 2 very important things about Anacin. It's effective. People don't stay with a product unless it works and it's reliable. If I didn't believe that, I wouldn't be here. Anacin and maximum strength Anacin fight pain and win.
Donald LeBlanc was once Ronald Reagan's chauffeur back when he was California governor. Now LeBlanc has the title of Associate Administrator for Policy Analysis and Development in the Commerce Department. The salary, $58,500 a year. Today, White House spokesman Larry Speakes denied that LeBlanc is being paid the salary just to chop wood at the Reagan Ranch in California. He said that LeBlanc is also actually working at the Commerce Department. And when LeBlanc is at the Reagan Ranch, said Speakes, quote, he does more than chop wood, he clears brush. For President Reagan, it's the midpoint of this term in office. For those who want to replace him, Bruce Morton reports tonight that, believe it or not, this is already the point of no return.
Hey, how you doing?
It's barely 1983, but they're running. Buzzwords buzzing.
To provide powerful leadership, making government efficient.
New solutions for new problems.
The Democratic alternative. A new Democratic vision for this nation.
Ohio Senator John Glenn's committee is moving into new offices. He's logged 2 visits to New Hampshire this past year alone. Former Vice President Mondale's people have some new space, too. California's Alan Cranston, South Carolina's Ernest Hollings, former Florida Governor Reuben Askew, all pawing the ground.
And I know the senator wants to spend some time with you. He may be...
Colorado's Gary Hart has been to Iowa 5 times in 1982. He has an office there. Are they starting too early? No. They are doing what the presidential system makes them do.
The last Democratic challenger to defeat a Republican president based his campaign here in Atlanta, not in Washington. And it was a campaign that worked very hard the year before election year. The candidate was Jimmy Carter, of course. The campaign manager was Hamilton Jordan.
You have to have the money. You have to be putting in place an organization out in the field that will be able to represent your candidate in all these primaries and contests that take place around the country.
First, money. Beginning January 1st, contributions to a candidate or committee are eligible for federal matching funds. You need all of those you can get. And the candidate's date book is filled with events. In January, a state convention. In July, a women's caucus. In December, a possible labor endorsement. There are many more. But most important of all, you have to organize in the early states, in Iowa, New Hampshire.
People there expect to be courted. You have to spend an enormous amount of time putting together a local organization.
Morris Udall has run for president and remembers.
The individual primaries in these early states are inflated all out of proportion, and you don't end up with a better informed electorate. You end up with everybody shouting slogans and shaking hands in shoe factories in New Hampshire.
One man may already be thinking, honestly, about 1988.
Actually, I enjoyed campaigning in Iowa in 1980, and who knows, I may do it again. Thank you very much.
Bruce Morton, CBS News, Washington.
In his commentary tonight, Bill Moyers looks at the plight of the Social Security system and the plight of recipients still waiting for the politicians to stand up and be counted.
You have to be old, or to know and love someone who is old, to see what fear has been created by talk of Social Security going bankrupt. If that were to happen, millions of retired people would tumble into poverty. They have no other means of support. The shipwreck of old age would have left them without a lifeline. It doesn't have to happen. Social Security can be saved with some relatively modest reforms, and no one need be penalized unfairly. Students of the system have shown us a variety of ways. No single measure is perfect or can succeed by itself, and any combination will require compromise among all of us. But the system can be saved if the politicians are allowed to do what is necessary and just, and if they will do it. You can hardly blame lawmakers for keeping low in the trenches when any one of them who rises to peer at the horizon is bombarded by one powerful interest group or another. That's why any solution has to bear the stamp not only of both parties, but of the executive and legislative branches of government. Neither can be the scapegoat or hero, but neither can be let off the hook. For such an emergency are leaders needed, and courage too. We have to hope that President Reagan will stop running from the problem, and that Speaker O'Neill will stop trying to exploit it for his party's short-term political gain. They have to act now for the nation. Both will be in the same room at the White House tonight as the President hosts a dinner for leaders of Congress. It would be a fitting occasion to reflect on the recent counsel of the noted economist Paul Samuelson, who said that for better or worse, a democracy has to face up to substantive issues. Rarely have two men of opposite parties had so extraordinary an opportunity to make such a difference on so critical a test of our system.
Is that the new Publishers Clearinghouse sweepstakes you just got?
Yeah.
How come you haven't sent it in?
Who are you kidding? It's just a big come on.
That's what I used to think.
You never hear if anybody ever wins.
That's what I used to think. Me? I haven't got a chance. That's what we used to think.
You know that new Publishers Clearinghouse sweepstakes you just got? What's your reason for not sending it in? Lots of Clearinghouse winners used to think that, too. Come on, send it in. If you're tired of waiting for laxatives to work, you can get relief in under 1 hour in most cases with predictable Dulcolax suppositories. Because it's a suppository, Dulcolax can work in just 15 minutes to 1 hour. Predictable Dulcolax is proven in hospitals, recommended by doctors for gentle relief. Predictable Dulcolax, tablets for overnight relief or suppositories that work in under 1 hour. Look for these economy sizes, 48 tablets or 8 suppositories, and save.
If you see one mouse, you've probably got a lot more. Mice always live in groups, and they breed like crazy. But you can get rid of your mice problem with Decon Mouseproof. Mouseproof is better than traps. A trap kills only one mouse at a time, but Decon Mouseproof can kill mice by the dozen. Mouseproof bait is clean and easy to use, yet so effective it's America's #1 mouse killer. Decon Mouseproof, the way to get rid of your mice problem.
What better way to celebrate the new year than with some fancy stepping? Charles Osgood looks at a man who wrote the book with historical footnotes.
There is a living room in a small house in Los Angeles where they put down a wooden mat and tap dance by the hour. They do it here because they want John Bubbles to see. This is his house, and he knows more about tap dancing than anybody in the whole world. It was like magic what John W. Bubbles could do, a miracle of rhythm and balance. He was the Bubbles of Buck and Bubbles, an act that dazzled vaudeville and movie audiences for 40 years. Buck was the piano player, Bubbles was the dancer. But that was a long time ago. Buck is gone. John Bubbles is 80 now. 15 years ago, he had a stroke, and since then, he's been confined to a wheelchair. But lately, with the resurgence of interest in tap dancing, Bubbles is often invited to colleges to talk about the art form that he revolutionized. Sometimes old show business buddies help him to demonstrate what he's talking about. Veteran pros like Honey Coles and Eddie Brown.
Then Bubbles come along. Bubbles started dropping in the heat.
And on film, of course, John Bubbles himself.
That's mine. I did that myself.
How long did it take?
All my life.
And that is the truth. It did take him years to perfect his art, his dancing and his singing too. Years for a black performer to be accepted in a white theatrical world. At first, Buck and Bubbles had to cork their faces and wear white gloves so people would think they were white men in blackface.
The manager of the theater figures that if you black us up, they won't know we color it. You don't know what it is to break into a world of segregation. That's a job itself. That is a job. And my worst job was that. This condition ain't bad as that was.
He almost quit, but he never did.
Now, the Bible says stay on your post, and that was my post.
So that's why they have the tap dancing sessions at Bubbles' house in Los Angeles, where Bubbles and his friends eat and sleep and breathe tap dancing. He has become the tap dance guru, the focus of a new international Hoofers club. He loves it that new young dancers like Camden Richmond of the Jazz Tap Ensemble have come along. Bubbles can remember showing a young Fred Astaire and a young Eleanor Powell a step or two once upon a time. And now, while his friend Eddie Brown takes a young master class through its paces, John Bubbles watches with those expert eyes of his. The Bible says, stay by your post. This is my post now, says John Bubbles. Charles Osgood, CBS News, Costa Mesa, California.
And that's the CBS Evening News for this Monday. Dan Rather reporting from New York. Thank you for joining us. Good night.
I love the way it looks on me. Stouffer's lean cuisine. Less than 300 calories. Stouffer's lean cuisine. I love the taste, I love what I see. I love being all that I can be. Ooh, I love the way it looks on me, and so does he.
Stouffer's lean cuisine. You'll love the way it looks on you.
I love the way it looks on me.
Burlington fabrics weave their way through your life in fantastic denim for action. Fabrics for style. Fabulous fabrics in looks that create fashion inside and out. Fabrics with fashion sense that do what you want them to do. Sensationally. All made better by Burlington.
I'm Diane Sawyer. Tagamet, the wonder drug for ulcers, the nation's best barbecued ribs, and Christo, the artist who wraps the earth. Tomorrow on the CBS Morning News.
This is CBS.
A federal court gives Bill Leader his job back at the state